Gappers, I'm glad you could join us once again, and our special studio-in guest is Dr. John Young from America, who is a practicing physician as well as an assistant professor of clinical medicine from the West Virginia University. Welcome to the studio, John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in. John, there's a lot of talk about safe sex. You can have sex as long as it's safe sex. What is safe sex?
As I'm talking to you all out there in the school system, what I think people are meaning when they say safe sex is I can have sex with anybody I want to, and I will not get anyone pregnant, any females pregnant, or I will not get any sexually transmitted diseases. We're relooking at that whole idea of safe sex in the States. In fact, we're now starting to call it a myth of safe sex. And when I first talk to people about safe sex, I find that they usually are talking about that great piece of latex that many of you carry in your back pocket or your wallet, the condom. Now, there's some very interesting things about the condom. First of all, the U.S. government's been testing condoms for years, and what they're finding is up to 20% of the condoms they test are defective. How can you practice safe sex if there's a 20% defective rate?
So then, is there really such a thing as safe sex?
You know, guys, just hold it a minute. Something just dawned on me. We're speaking about contraception, but how many of the people out there actually know what it is? What are contraceptives? Are they safe? Are they effective? And why do people use them? We sent Gil out to go find out a bit more.
Hi, Doctor.
Hi, Gil.
I'm back.
Yes.
Let's start off by finding out why we have contraceptives.
Well, essentially, what you must remember that when any couple has sex, there's a chance that they may have a baby and the girl may fall pregnant. So what we have contraception for really is to prevent this from happening, so that it's possible to have sex without falling pregnant.
Let's find out about some contraceptives that are used.
Okay. Let's start with the condom. I think most people have heard of the condom, especially lately with the business about AIDS. Condom, as you know, is used essentially by the guy, and it's like a rubber glove that is inserted over the guy's penis. This must be done fairly early, even in the early stages of excitement. It provides some sort of protection against venereal disease and also provides some protection against AIDS. Then the other ways, this is the pill as we know it. This is taken by the girl. The most important thing about the pill really is that it has to be taken regularly. It has to be taken at the same time every day, and as you see from this particular one, they're different colours, and that is to signify that each pill has a different hormonal content. And the whole idea is to change the environment of the womb and the reproductive organs so that pregnancy doesn't occur. The other way that we can prevent pregnancies is what we call the copper T. Now, the copper T is a device which is inserted by a doctor, and it's inserted into the womb of a girl. And what happens is it's got a copper coil here and these plastic arms that ensure that the copper coil remains within the womb and isn't shed or fallen out. And this copper substance causes low-grade inflammation in the lining of the womb, making it very unreceptive for a fertilized ovum to lodge in and develop into a full pregnancy. There's another one actually, Gil. This is called a depot injection. It's actually an injection that we give, as you see with a syringe, yeah. We give that every 3 months, and that is another hormone injection, which is another way of changing the environment of the lining of the womb and the body to avoid a pregnancy developing should an ovum be fertilized.
Oh, it's been very interesting. Thank you very much.
Good.
Responsible? Well, yeah, if you've got protection and everything, well, as long as you're not doing it wrong, then it's okay.
There are lots of other ways to relieve sexual tension. Masturbation.
Oh, well, if you're not mature enough to wear a condom, then I think you're not mature enough to have sex.
I don't think there's such a thing as safe sex, because nothing's 100% safe.
If you feel that you're ready and you're on the pill and you use a condom
can't work all the time, you know. It's not 100% effective. You really got to be careful. You mustn't switch partners all the time. I just stick with one or two. Just one. One's good.
These diseases out there are deadly.
So, John, would you say that the increase in sexually transmitted diseases is because of the fact that people thought that condoms were safe? And why are people still being told that condoms are safe? Because, I mean, in fact, some of the research that we did for this discussion said that there's this new condom coming out and it's got this new spermicide and all the rest of that that's supposed to be better. Why are people still being told that?
You might say that people don't want to look at reality. You know, I want to be able to live life the way I want to. But all the studies that we're doing are showing that when you use a condom, you're running into great risks of getting a sexually transmitted disease. A news organization recently tested 100 condoms. Of the 100 condoms they tested, only 75 leaked.
Goodness.
Yes, I think what we've established here is that condoms aren't 100% safe. They're not foolproof, but they're the safest way of preventing sexually transmitted diseases.
All right, let me ask you this. In other words, are you willing to take a risk with something that if it fails, it may cost you your life?
No.
No,
Of
thank
course.
you.
But John, okay, so you basically what you're saying is that the only safe sex is within a marriage.
Right.
But for me, that doesn't really come across as reality, because most people in reality are not going to keep it for a marriage. And even though I would ideally like to be a virgin on my wedding night, on the other hand, I'd also like to have the experience to be able to know what to do on my wedding night.
All right, let's take this one at a time. First of all, you're saying most people are sexually active. All right, I disagree with that. In some studies I've done here in South Africa and studies we've done in the States, we're finding that about 60% of the students in America, when they finish high school, are still virgins. In Japan, it's about 80%. In South Africa, in some of my studies, it's about 75%. But if you're talking to people, especially the guys, it sounds like they're sleeping with everything that walks.
So then,
as you just
obviously,
said, it's only big talk.
Yeah.
Big
Because
talk, no action.
From the statistics, it doesn't sound that way.
No, no. You know, and the other thing is to look at, as the condom protects only one small part of the guy's anatomy. It covers the penis. When you have sex, the Skene's glands, the Bartholin glands, all these glands in the vagina are giving out fluid. Covers the whole pelvic area. Anytime you have your body fluid coming in contact with someone else's body fluid, you can get a sexually transmitted disease. Now, you say, well, you know, it's not realistic that people are going to withhold sex. All right, we just looked at, you know, teenagers, there's a lot of big talk, no action. The other thing we're finding is, you know, 30, 40 years ago, people were not as sexually active. We've come to this idea, hey, it feels good, do it. Madonna says, hey, go for it. You've got the movies, go for it.
So in other words, society has a lot to do with it.
Society.
Everything to do with it.
So it's not only peer pressure now, but it's the pressure of the whole society.
I don't know if it's so much
Media.
pressure, but acceptance of society to have premarital sex. I can give you an example that in Sweden, 90% of people have sex before they're married. And there, society accepts that. It's understood that it happens. Okay, here maybe less so.
But with that, you got to remember, when you get involved sexually, you've got certain consequences you're going to have to pay.
And you mentioned it being deadly, but the condom actually protects us from, well, partially protects us from those deadly diseases like AIDS and
Yeah, well, partially it's not good enough, is it?
Yeah, okay, but the thing is, people are willing to take the chance. You have to understand. They say, okay, 20% leaks, I'll take their chance, and I'll because they can't abstain, or they'd rather not.
All right.
Yeah.
And
So now we have to look. Now we have to look at those people who aren't willing to abstain. How do they protect themselves?
all right.
Okay, like, do you wear 2 condoms, or? I've heard some of my friends actually say that if they did that, then they'd wear 2 condoms. Just
No, that is not going to work. Let's go back.
Disappointment of my friends.
Let's go back a second and pick up something you said earlier, that you know, the people are willing to take the risk. They're going to practice safe sex, and there's a chance that they're going to get the disease, but hopefully they're not going to get it. You know, I think that is a very shallow or narrow way to look at sex and safe sex. I recently I've had girls come into my clinic, 17, 18, 19 years of age, and they have a little virus called human papillomavirus or venereal warts. Probably one of the most popular or prevalent sexually transmitted diseases in the States right now. I do the pap smear or a special study of the cells of the cervix, and it comes back positive for cervical cancer. And I tell that girl, you now have cervical cancer. And you know what she says? She says, uh-oh, I've got the disease now. Practicing safe sex was not worth it. You know, once you get that disease, it's not worth it. And I think we need to tell people, hey, if you're going to practice sex with a condom, these diseases are very likely to happen.
But John, I think we have to face the fact that even though people know about sexually transmitted diseases and all the rest of that and all the dangers involved, still, you know, that's not enough to stop them. What is it that make people not think about it, you know, and what can we do?
I think that's just their own ignorance.
Yes.
I mean, if they've been given the facts, but they are still going to sleep with somebody and they're still going to go ahead and take the risks, I think that's
just not only ignorance.
But if you're told to have sex, then like there's no, it's like your body takes over, your hormones take over.
Yeah, your hormones, it's not only ignorance.
Yes.
I mean, you might know it when you're normal, but when you see, obviously when a person sees that there's a chance that they might be able to have sex with someone, imagine if you like the person and you've been wanting to have sex with them, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, wait a minute, what if I get a sexually transmitted disease? You're going to say, well, I'll take my chances, let's go.
I think the only sexually transmitted disease on people's minds, especially teenagers, is AIDS.
Definitely.
And they fail to realize that that's not the only thing they're faced with.
Okay, John, I think what, and Donna, you're right, is that people have been saying, I'm going to practice safe sex. I'm not going to get AIDS. You know, AIDS is affecting maybe 1% of the population in South Africa. In America, it's affecting 1% of the university population. That's a very small percentage. And there's more to sexually transmitted diseases than just AIDS. And this is what we're trying to get out to the high schools. I will tell you this. Once I tell a high school assembly that 70% of the sexually active high school students in America have venereal warts, 40% carry chlamydia, it does make them wake up and think. You know, we can go on and on about this safe sex. I still like what Magic Johnson, the American basketball player, said last year when he announced he had AIDS. He said the only safe sex is a one-on-one relationship in a marriage. No sex before marriage, no sex outside of that marriage.
Guys, this is a bit of a gross topic here, but is it really such a big problem in South Africa?
While I'm standing in the laboratory for Sexually Transmitted Diseases Research Unit, and I'll be chatting to the head of this unit, Professor Ron Ballard. Hi.
Hello, Annabelle.
Professor, how big a problem are sexually transmitted diseases here in South Africa?
Unfortunately, Annabelle, they're an enormous problem. We have approximately 3 million new cases of sexually transmitted disease, or STD, every year in this country. Now, if those infections just caused a minor irritation, inconvenience or embarrassment, I don't think we would worry too much about them. But unfortunately, they cause such things as infertility, blindness amongst babies. These infections kill babies. They cause cancers in adults. That's why we're very worried about them.
What type of diseases are you talking about?
These infections, and there are a number of them, can either be caused by bacteria or viruses, but fortunately most of them can be treated. You've probably heard of gonorrhea and syphilis. These are the oldest, if you like.
Yes.
There are others, however, which cause us much more of a problem. Chlamydial infection.
What exactly is that?
This is a bacterial infection which is transmitted sexually, and it causes symptoms very similar to gonorrhea. That's burning when you pass water, and a discharge in men. In women, often they don't know they're carrying the disease.
Is AIDS categorized as a sexually transmitted disease?
Well, in the vast majority of cases of HIV infection and AIDS in this country, it really is a sexually transmitted disease. It's a sexually transmitted disease which is actually relatively difficult to catch. And therefore, patients who become HIV positive have often had other sexually transmitted diseases previously.
Now, if you think that you might have a sexually transmitted disease, you've got the symptoms, where do you go as a teenager? And you're too scared to speak to your parents, for example.
Well, obviously there's your family doctor, but there are in fact clinics in most of the large metropolitan centres where you can get free diagnosis and advice and treatment.
Well, Professor, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Why, in your dating relationships, why is sex such a big part of it?
Can I answer that?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
now, I don't know. Personally, I haven't had long relationships before, so I don't know how I would feel about it. But I can understand that if a person falls in love with someone emotionally, kind of like, I fell in love with your brain, I want to fall in love with your body, they obviously want to become physical because you want to get closer
As
to
the
that person.
relationship grows.
You want to link up with that person, and as you link up emotionally, obviously the physical side comes into it.
Yes,
but I
it's
think if you...
expected. It's part of human nature.
But then I'm
those
of
two
the
work
opinion,
together.
where do you go from there? I mean, don't you regard that as the climax? I mean,
That is
the
the
peak
cli-
of somebody's
that is-
relationship.
But don't you
is
think,
the-
guys, don't you
Shouldn't
think
that
that...
peak come in a marriage? Because if you can reach that peak, then it's in a slump
But-
after that.
All right, now, if I can say, I see you're kind of getting away from diseases here, which is great because you're also talking about some emotional aspects of early sexual involvement. Let's see, Peter, are you married?
Can't say I am, no.
Oh, okay, just checking it out. All right, being the debonair, good-looking, macho, open-minded South African male that you are, if you were married and your wife started sleeping with other men, would it really bother you?
Yes. It would, because I would take that as being mistrust. I would believe that we had built our relationship on trust and love and all those things that, in my opinion, come before a sexual confirmation of that person's trust and love for you.
All right.
Okay. So surely the sexual act must come once that love and trust has been established in a relationship, and must come for the girl more than the guy.
Now here's
As a
what the state of
confirmation.
New York did. They did an interesting study recently, and they found out that those people that had 2 or more sex partners before getting married, once they were married, there was an 86% chance that one of the partners would step out and have an affair. In other words, if you've been sexually active before marriage, just because you said I do and have a piece of paper doesn't mean that you're going to change your earlier behavior. In fact, the good chances are you will not.
So what are we
A lot of
saying?
guys
then?
are saying,
So what we're saying is, you know, a lot of you are still trying to say, how can I practice safe sex? You know, I'll use 5 or 6 condoms, you know, complete body bag over the person. And I'm saying, you know, maybe you're going to go ahead and try it no matter what. All right? There's a very good chance you're going to get a disease. But I think you also need to look at the emotional aspects. And one is that one of the partners will continue to have an affair.
If we are supposed to hold back from sex for that long, why are we sexually mature so soon? I mean, we said earlier that people now are becoming more sexually mature sooner. Why are we supposed to hold back for that long if we're ready for it so soon?
Well,
or rather physically ready for it so soon?
One of the reasons is that about 100 years ago, the average woman started menstruating about 17, 18.
Jeez.
Now it's about 11 or 12.
Sure, that's interesting.
What we're finding is as people are better nourished, better nutrition, their bodies are ready for, you know, to develop quicker, all right? Menstruation starts earlier. Now, what makes it very difficult is you've got all these hormones raging at 12, 13, 14, but instead of getting married at 17 and 18 back in the 100 years ago, we're now getting married at 22, 23. So you've got 10 years here of these raging hormones, and it's difficult to control.
And
You say,
that's
what do I
why,
do?
and that's why we've got sex, premarital sex. Do you understand? Because people feel that it's natural to, physically they feel ready, maybe even emotionally, And because it's, according to society, you're only supposed to get married at 22, 23, so then you've got premarital sex.
That's where my whole dilemma comes in about premarital sex. That I don't want to have sex before I'm married, but maybe, you know, I don't want to be terrified.
But truly, I know a lot of guys.
What do you mean by terrified on your wedding
will
night?
not know what to do, and sit there and think.
All right, let me ask you this. So you want to come to the marriage bed that wedding night, all primed up, a lot of experience. You know what to do.
No, not experience, but I would want to know what to do.
What we're finding is people are getting married. They've been sexually active before. They're married, and on that wedding night, they find, I'm comparing my wife's groans with the other women I've slept with. I'm comparing how she touches me around my genital areas compared to the other women. In other words, do you want your husband to compare you with his previous exploits? I mean, this is what you have to talk about.
Overcome that problem without having sex before marriage.
Yeah, but if you...
problem, I mean, how do you get the experience without experiencing it, if you know what I'm trying to say?
What do you mean by experience?
Of knowing what to do.
Obviously, you can't have both.
Without actually having sex before marriage.
I think that it's on the night that you get married, it could be just like the first time you have sex, like the time you have. Okay, well then why should you need experience? Surely your husband can talk you through it, or you can talk through it. You should know each other well enough by then to feel comfortable about it.
Just think of your first kiss. Just think of your first kiss.
No, that's
Did you need experience? Did you need experience for that? That was great because it was something new and it was exciting and you didn't know what to expect, and it was obviously nice.
And it definitely becomes more special because perhaps for both of you it's a first experience. And definitely in a marriage situation, would it be right to say that the ideal wedding gift for your spouse is in fact your virginity?
I think the neatest thing, and I've some good friends of mine were virgins when they got married, was for them to say, listen, I am giving you my virginity. The most sacred thing that you have to offer, and you're giving to the person you love. I mean, what a wedding gift.
Well, guys, we've looked at a lot of ideal situations, safe sex, etc., but to me, they're all theories. John, what should someone do if they've got a sexually transmitted disease? Perhaps they can't go to their parents for help. How should they handle this problem? What should they do?
Get it treated. There was a fellow at a high school in Pretoria I was talking at recently, and he came up to me afterwards and he said, I've had a penile discharge for 6 weeks. I've slept with 17 different girls. What do I do? Get to your doctor. If you can't get to your doctor, go to the health department. And they won't charge you. Don't ignore it. These diseases just don't go away, and you forget about it. There's one disease, chlamydia, which we mentioned earlier. You can have that organism. You get it through sexual contact, and it can be in your body for 4 or 5 years without you ever knowing it. You have no lower abdominal pain, no pelvic or penile discharges. If you've been sexually active, it's important to get checked because it can cost you your life or the ability to ever have children. Do not ignore it.
Guys, you know, the only thing that we've come to a conclusion about right now is that there's no such thing as safe sex.
Yeah,
okay, it's a myth, okay? So now we've got to find ways for people who want to be, who are sexually active mentally especially, is how do they relieve it, okay?
Yeah, we need to look for another option. What about...
Masturbation might be a good option, okay? Is that a good method of relieving your sexual desires?
I think that is such a big topic and controversial topic that, you know, if we're going to really do it justice, I would suggest we wait till another time when we can really deal with it.
Well, guys, you can look forward to a most exciting program next time when we join John again to discuss sexual matters as well as many other questions that you guys are dying to ask. But for now, thanks very much, John, for coming to the studio, and goodbye.